Hi there, beautiful people, and welcome back. Welcome to Brides in France, Get to Know Your Suppliers. I'm Emma, and I'm the director and founder of Brides in France, and I'm interviewing all our top suppliers so that you get to know them a little bit more. And in today's video, we have Piers Lane Celebrant. He is full of charisma, fun, and he offers amazing ceremonies for your wedding. He's UK based now, but he does travel back and forth to France all the time. As he says, sometimes it's quicker to get to France than it is to get on the motorway somewhere in the UK. He also provides an on-the-day service where he acts as a bit like a maid of honor, really. He comes in 3 hours before, helps plan and helps coordinate your whole day. That means if you're planning your own wedding, and he can take all that stress out of the day for you and run your day smoothly, which he will plan with you prior. So in this video, I'm now going to introduce you to Piers Lane, and I'm so excited for you to meet him. He's just so much fun. Here's Piers. Hi Piers, thank you so much for being with us today. I know you're busy.
Hello, Emma.
How's your season going?
It's going really, really well, actually. It's been such a busy season, such a lot of lovely couples, nearly 30 couples in all sorts of different venues in France.
You're traveling everywhere, aren't you?
I know, well, not quite everywhere, but a lot of places. I try not to go to the Riviera, which is a little bit crazy to say. I know, but because there's some great celebrants down there, and I don't need to go into their patch, and they sort of we work together backwards and forwards and that sort of thing. And I don't go to the north very often, but I do travel to the Loire Valley a lot, and the Dordogne, and the regions between the Dordogne and the south. Sometimes I get down nearly to the Spanish border, which is great fun, into the Pyrenees.
Oh, and you've had a hot summer as well. It's been very hot this year. I
know. It's been. I did 2 weddings that were in the 40s, which was really hot. You know.
You're obviously outside, aren't you? Because most of the ceremonies tend to be outdoors. Pretty
much all of them have been outdoors, under trees a lot of the time this summer because it's been so hot, which is beautiful. You know, if you get to sit under a really old tree, I think there's something quite magical about a ceremony under a tree. You know, I mean, it's beautiful, naturally beautiful anyway. You can dress it really well as well. But occasionally, I've done weddings this year in some old stone chapels at chateaux as well.
Because they do, they have chapels on site as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is really easy if it's an on-site chapel because the church isn't really involved. Whereas if you go to a
transport either, you can just go for a walk out your room and go to
that absolutely. Run out of the chapel into your drinks reception, which is great. Whereas it's more complicated if you go to sort of like a practicing Catholic church because people need to know that you're a Catholic. Whereas a lot of my couples are not religious at all, but they quite like the atmosphere of being in an old chapel. So that's been beautiful, and it's been really cool as well. So, and a couple of vineyards and a hotel they'll do. You know, great. It's been a lovely summer.
Such a bad job, isn't it?
I know. It's a tough job. Somebody had to do it. And I went,
Someone had to do it, and it's you. And you do it really well. I've seen some amazing reviews. You had a review on your Facebook the other day about where even just the guests and the family kept going up to the brides after going, where did you find this guy? So you obviously interact with all of the party as well and everybody there.
Yeah, I do. I think that's one of the things that I really feel is important. I'm not there just to deliver a ceremony at all. I'm very much about being relational on the day, making sure the couple are absolutely prioritized in my focus and being there to help them with whatever they need, but also very much about making friends with Uncle Norman and the granny and that sort of thing. You know,
and that's how they remember you. And obviously, you're not just there as the celebrant for the ceremony. You create the ceremony, and then you're there to hold their hand all the way through the whole day.
Yeah, I am. It's a bit different from what a lot of celebrants offer in that I'm sort of on the day coordinator and celebrant. So I'm there for 3 hours at least before the ceremony, during which time I'll help get the area ready. I'll go and find the bridesmaids and the groomsmen and talk through what they've got to do. And I'll go and check out the place settings and all the rest of it. You know, sometimes working with a planner. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes working with a wedding planner, sometimes without. And then I'm there right through the day and I'll make all the announcements as sort of master of ceremonies. But it's more than that. It's about making sure that, you know, the day runs smoothly, the guests feel hosted, the couple feel relaxed, and they can enjoy their wedding day. So yeah, it's a full day experience. And of course that starts months beforehand because I help couples plan the day as well.
The brides will get in contact with you, obviously via Brides in France, via social media. They can contact you in many ways, but you don't just obviously answer by emails. You tend to Skype and FaceTime people so they can have that immediate connection with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Skype, FaceTime, and we're using Zoom today, which seems to be pretty cool. So I might use Zoom as well. Now you've introduced me to the 21st. Yeah, absolutely. But also, you know, because I'm based in the UK nowadays, so therefore it's possible for me to have face-to-face meetings as well with people as well.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and I've got, you know, I've been living in France for 3 years, so I've got lots of on-the-ground experience which I bring with me. But now I'm going to be based in Yorkshire, but that's easy to travel to. I mean, sometimes actually it's easy to travel by plane to the south of France or the southwest of France.
It used to be stuck on the motorway in the UK.
I know, absolutely. So
I've been flown back to the UK quicker than what it would have taken for me to get somewhere in
the
UK. So easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of couples bring in, you know, suppliers from the UK anyway, like photographers and sometimes even caterers and people like that. So, you know, that's my approach really, is to be UK based, which means that I can do more face to face with couples. But, you know, obviously, so I've got the on the ground experience of France, then I think that will be helpful.
Brilliant. And you've got a background in ceremonies anyway, weren't you? You were a previous pastor?
I was. I worked for the Methodist Church for like a long time, and I'm not part of the church now, but I'm still open to working with couples who've got a spirituality or a faith, be that Christian or whatever. Really, you know, my own faith is very progressive and very liberal and very kind of loose. I'm not very religious, in fact, you know, which was kind of an essential qualification for being a minister. But anyway, that aside, but you know, so a lot of my couples don't have any religion.
Qualifies you to offer lots of different types of ceremonies. Tying the knot, isn't there? So the tying knot is a symbol of different, you know, I've seen it. You have ribbons round and candles, and tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, I love doing creative stuff with couples. You know, the hand fasting and the tying of the knot. You know, which is where the hand fasting is an ancient ceremony, which is where tying the knot, the phrase comes from about getting married. So I do all sorts of different ways of hand fasting, tying the knot. Sometimes with just the couple, tying an infinity knot, which is quite a fun thing. Or, more often than not, I get everybody involved. So I sometimes have 60, 70 people coming forwards and tying the couple's hands, which is absolutely brilliant with music playing. But I do all sorts of things as well. This year I've been doing some gin blending ceremony, which is great. And I've got this big glass. Yeah, it's really cool. Let me show you.
Love this idea.
Here we are. You see this?
For the gin.
Yeah. And what the couple do is I stand between them holding this, and each of them have a bottle of gin, and they pour a bottle of gin into it together. And you know, like different colours gin, so they can have a red gin, a white gin, and then somebody else, like the best man or the bridesmaids, can pour a couple of bottles of tonic in here as well.
It's like gin.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. So then they swirl it all together, and the metaphor is about two lives being blended, two spirits, if you like, being blended together, and then we pour that into lots of little glasses, and everybody raises their new gin and tonic.
That's actually really creative.
Yeah, it's nice. And then candles and all sorts of things with candles, and I did a wedding actually in a vineyard, working with this beautiful hotel, and because they had a vineyard attached, I created this sort of walk through the vineyard with poems, because the couple really like poetry. So there were 3 stops with barrels in the vineyard, and at each stop there was a bottle of wine for them to taste, to open and taste, and a poem to read, and then they moved on to the next one, and eventually we led them through the barrel room in this old chateau. It's a beautiful place, through to this ancient chapel that's between 2 long barrel rooms, you know, and it's great. There's a cross on the wall by Damien Hirst. Amazing. I know, it's made out of Lalique crystal. So all sorts of stuff.
So wine tasting ceremonies, gin blend. I love it. Absolutely love it. And is this something that you come up with the couples, or something you offer to everybody?
I do. I always listen to. I always try to be couple led. You know, I always try to listen to a couple, hear their story, kind of get who they are, and you know what their values are, and what sort of feel they want for the day. And then sometimes couples come to me with, "Oh, this is what we want," but more often than not, they go, "We've never done this before. So what ideas, you know?" And then I try and create things. Sometimes things that are very much about the couple. So you know, if the couple are really into something, then we'll try and include that within their ceremony, you know. So one couple that I'm working with at the moment are both really mad on cycling, and they
Okay.
met through cycling. So we're exploring whether or not, you know, certainly he is probably going to arrive on his bike to the front of the ceremony, and we're wondering whether or not we can even. It's just the only problem is trying to find a tandem in France, because we're trying to work out whether they could cycle.
I'm trying to find out if the bride can actually get on the bike with her dress.
There is that as well. It's like bicycle clips don't do it, do they? Like, unless you get a massive.
It doesn't surprise me that you bring all this wonder to it. I think it's brilliant. It just...
Well, you know, I mean, I think that a wedding day should be fun, and I think most couples who come to me say, when I say to them, "What sort of a day do you want?" They say, "Oh, we want a day that's going to be fun and relaxed, and you know."
That's what I love about France, though. It is so relaxing, and I mean, I spoke with Alexandra for the other day. We were just talking about that's exactly what couples want. They want to come, they want to just have fun with everyone, relax, and have something memorable. Just to quickly touch on the legal side, obviously it's a lot easier to do the legal side. So you can't actually legally marry anybody, but you can still provide a blessing or just a normal ceremony, or like you say, a ceremony tailored. But the legal side's a bit more difficult, isn't it?
Well, it is, you know, but I don't think that's a problem at all. And I think more couples are getting into the idea. And I sometimes say to, you know, people, you know, when you have a baby, right, and you go and register the baby's birth, you don't do that at the same time as you have the baby baptized or christened, if that's what you want to do. I mean, you separate the legal thing from the ceremonial thing, right? And it's the same with the wedding. You ask a couple to pop along to their local authority with that, because, you know, couples that I work with are not only from the UK, they're from, you know, Australia and Canada, New Zealand. I have a couple coming from Barbados in a couple of weeks who wanted to come to France for their wedding. Like, you live in Barbados, that is a destination. But anyway, you know,
it's a wedding destination too.
Yeah, so they have to pop along to the sort of register office or the equivalent in where they live.
Yeah,
they do the paperwork. In the UK, that's really easy, and it's really cheap as well. You just need 2 witnesses, and it doesn't cost a great deal. You can go along. You can either have a ceremony if you want, or you can just do it in an office in front of the registrar. And then coming here, they have the wedding, you know, because I think what makes a wedding is not being a legal ceremony. What makes a wedding is the fact that 2 people who love each other are there in front of their friends and their family. They're making promises, they're exchanging rings, and that's the wedding day. And every couple who've ever expressed any, will it feel all right? Will it feel like the real thing? Have all gone away and went, yeah, it was absolutely the right thing. It felt totally perfect. You know?
So I think
so it's just
kind of stigma to it, especially with the brides that I work with. They would be like, you know, oh, I haven't told anybody we've done it. You know, we're keeping it a big secret. We've gone and got married in England for the paperwork, but we haven't told anyone. It's like a bad thing, but I don't think it is. I think, like you say, they're still going through the ceremony. There's just a piece of paperwork, and actually sometimes they get 2 weddings out of it if they want to.
I know.
Exactly.
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. One of the grooms said to me, he said, "It's great, I've got 2 wedding dates now, so if I forget one of them, I can hopefully get in by the second one." So for an anniversary.
Then they might want 2 dresses. That's the only thing. I know what we're like.
Yeah. But actually, but it really feels absolutely brilliant for couples, you know, that they just do end up with these 2 separate days. And one of the things about the legal day for some of them, especially coming to France, is that they've taken their grandparents to the local registry office, and there's just been a small family gathering whilst they've done the legal ceremony. Then they've gone out for a nice meal with their granny and everything else there, and that was great, because they perhaps couldn't make the journey to France comfortably, so they feel like they've been able to, which has been really nice, actually.
And what about so tell us a little bit more about your on the day. So obviously you kind of lead them through the day. What would you say your roles and your attention to detail is? How do you make their day run really smoothly? Do you run around after the bride, or are you just generally organising suppliers and just make sure everything follows to a time schedule?
Well, I guess it depends on whether or not I'm working with a planner, because sometimes I do work with planners, and that's great because they're behind the scenes.
It's them, isn't it? It gets to take a bit of the day off them, so they can do the background, but you're front of house.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can work really, really well in some venues and with some planners. Alternatively, if a couple make their own plans, and I can help them make those plans in advance. I'm not a wedding planner. I won't do all the bookings for a couple. No. What I can recommend suppliers in France, and they can find them on Brides in France, for example. But you know, and I can also help them think through the shape and the timetable of the day. So I do all of that with couples in advance and give them advice on how long you need for this bit and that bit and what to expect and that sort of thing. So I work with a couple in advance, but on the day, you know, I will be there for a big long period beforehand, making sure that everything's comfortable, everybody's cool, everybody's all right, you know. And as well as looking after the practicalities, I'll make sure that people are just chilled out and they know what to do.
Yeah.
And if a bride's dad's going to walk her down the aisle and he's a bit nervous about that, and they are, then I'll go alongside him and have a chat and put him at ease and say, it's going to be all right. And I think that the very fact that people meet me and they go, oh, he's all right, he's down to earth, he's not, you know, stuffy or pompous or whatever, really helps people put it at ease. I know, I'm just, you know, trying to, come on, it's going to be all right, hang on, let's just have some fun. Yeah. And then, you know, so I help and prepare. And then obviously when the guests are arriving, if the guests are arriving at the chateau or the venue, you know, from somewhere else, I often will be the first person that they will see. So the other day, a coach of guests was arriving at the gates of this particular chateau. And I was down there at the gate. I knew what time they were going to arrive. I arrived, I welcomed them in. I said, welcome to Chateau de la Coste, that one, you know. And then I showed them where to go, walked them up and kind of build a rapport with them from the beginning. So when I then take the ceremony a little while later on, because they may have a glass of champagne or something first, you know, there's a rapport already built. And then after the ceremony, it's very much about leading them on to the next part and making announcements. And so the announcements that I will typically make will be about, you know, calling people to dinner and then welcoming the couple into dinner. And I have a particular way of doing that, which is quite fun. We're kind of waving napkins and we're banging glasses and we're making some fun. And I'll sometimes introduce the groomsmen or the bridesmaids into the dinner as well and have some music and do all sorts of things, you know. And sometimes about throwing the bouquet, I'll organise that. I'll organise cutting the cake.
I did see in one of your reviews that they said, you know, that you bring a lot of humour and a lot of fun to the day and obviously the ceremony as well. But you do all of that by keeping that professionalism and understanding of what the day is about. So, you know, you're professional at the same time, you're making everyone laugh and you're being very funny and, you know, very trustworthy as well. So I think once they've met you and got to know you with your charisma, you are very charismatic, that they actually feel quite everything's safe in your hands, so that when they've probably met you prior to the day or spoken to you, I think when they probably actually see you on the day, I think they just go, you know, we just
I mean,
Piers, he does it, he's all good, we know Piers.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because I'm absolutely in my element doing it. I love being an organizer, and I was an events organizer in my previous life. I used to run an arts festival for about 2,000 people over a weekend. And I had, you know, like, I don't know, about 40 different events going on at the same time, kind of thing, around this big site. And I love organizing events. But I am quite relaxed, you know. And it's a funny thing because people have sometimes said to me, you know, are you on it? I'm like, yeah, I'm absolutely on it. And I won't miss stuff just because I'm relaxed. But I am kind of thinking all the time, and I've got my notes, and we spend a long time in advance planning stuff, so I know what's going on. But I do love making people laugh, and I have a lot of fun with people, and you know, but I mean, the amount of people who spend this
bit of entertaining, because you're a drummer as well.
I am.
A band.
Yeah, playing a gig this Friday.
In
a blues band at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm playing with a blues singer called Zoe Grace Cousins. I've been playing with a pianist called Katie, who some people will know from the photography, because Katie Lunsford.
Yeah.
She's a great wedding photographer in France. And she's also a pianist and singer, so I played with her a couple of times, and also playing with Zoe Grace, who's a blues singer at the moment. So yeah,
fantastic.
A bit this, a bit that. So it's great. Yeah, it's fun.
I remember when you played at your own wedding.
I know, yeah. That was cool, wasn't it?
Your wedding was one of the best weddings I'll ever remember.
It was fab, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? And it didn't cost us £1 zillion either.
No,
you know,
it was just amazing. I will always remember that. It was a really good one.
I remember your daughter and your son pouring out champagne liberally.
Child labour there. No.
Child labour. I know. Jill remembers them doing that as well. My wife. Well, I think she sort of vaguely remembers it.
But you were very creative then as well, because you had a very different kind of ceremony for yours, didn't you? We all had to walk around haystacks and we played musical instruments, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I'd cut with the drums, the djembes and that sort of stuff. Because we'd cut a labyrinth in the grass in our field and 2 paths
So your
And
creativity
Jill and I
just
started out.
doesn't stop. And I think that's what's really good about you, and to get across to couples, is that it's not just a case of a ceremony. It's a ceremony, you know, and you can chat with them and actually provide them with so many ideas they didn't know was possible. So yeah, I think even just to be able to create an amazing ceremony, as well as obviously then hang out with them for the rest of the day, I just think it's a really good service.
Yeah, I love it, and couples and families seem to really, you know, value it. And as you said earlier, the guests and the families seem to value it, because I think it just puts everybody at ease. They go, oh, it's all right. There's somebody who knows what's going on, and people come over and ask me all sorts of questions. Oh, where's so and so? Or could we do this? Or we've just had an idea. Would it be possible? And I'll go, let's make it happen. If it's a good idea, and if it's what the couple want, then, you know, it means that you can plan like crazy in advance, but you've still got room for spontaneity on the day, which I think is a really important thing.
They always say, don't they, when you the best events or the best things that you do was stuff that wasn't planned sometimes, you know, just try something new, or just, you know, oh, so and so's invited us here, let's just go, and then you have the best time ever. So
yeah, absolutely. No, I think that there's always things that can happen on the day that you couldn't have foreseen, partly because the venue, or, you know, you suddenly think, oh, that would be great, we could go and do that, you know, let's just use that, you know. But also just that people are there and people are kind of in the moment and things happen, you know. So I never organise stuff that a couple wouldn't want. Of course, I'm always going to check things out with a couple because it's their day. But, you know, to have some spontaneity on the day is quite fun. You know, it's great.
That's brilliant. So is there anything that you would say to couples now that are a bit unsure about marrying in France, or, you know, unsure of how the ceremony would turn out? Is there anything you would say to our couples looking to marry in France, some advice?
Well, I think that France is a great option, and it's really not as expensive as people might think, you know. I think that couples sometimes go, oh, we can't afford a destination wedding, because they've thought of Fiji, or, you know, somewhere in Greece or whatever else. But of course, France is actually really quite accessible. You know, the plane flights and that sort of thing, and the ferry crossings are really accessible. So, I mean, you know, if you're coming from the UK, it's absolutely, you know, accessible, really. And also, I think that the venues are surprisingly affordable. And one of the great things that couples say to me is that we've had 3 days, or we've had 5 days, or a week with our friends and our family. Yeah, instead of just one day, you know. And that having time to hang out together, I think is really brilliant, because you know what it's like. You go to a wedding, if it's just a one-day wedding, you turn up and you go, oh, there's so and so, I haven't seen them for 6 years or whatever else, must say hello.
It's like a reunion,
and you hardly, you never get a chance, you know. You finally get a chance at the end of the day when there's some band banging away in the background and you can't really hear each other anyway. Whereas if you're in France, you get time to kind of hang out together at the side of a pool or whatever else, you know, and that's really good. And I think in terms of the planning, I think couples might be a little bit worried that, oh, well, we don't speak any French, you know, how on earth will we do? There are some great French suppliers who are so used to working with English-speaking couples.
That's what we're doing, also connecting everyone together to make sure that they can communicate their wedding effectively. You know, just make that dream that they're worrying about that might not happen, to make sure it happens. And if not,
absolutely. And there's so many English-speaking suppliers as well. You know, people. You know, look at the Brides in France website. You know, there's so many people, photographers and musicians and florists and cake makers and, you know, everybody else. You know. So I don't think the couples should worry about the speaking French, you know. It's perfectly doable. And I've had loads of
contact people to, you know, we're not sure when we contact people if they would like to be a member of Brides in France. We're not quite sure when we contact people to see what language they're speaking, and most of the time they do have a really good understanding of English, or it tends to be an English owned venue. So, you know, they're just, you know, we've just not heard about them just yet. So, you know, being able to go out and promote everyone as well is just great.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes work with French suppliers, and you know, my French isn't perfect by a long way, but it's enough. And so I'm quite often talking with waiters and, you know, caterers in the background in French. You know, so it's enough. So if you have someone like me around, it's quite useful, because it just means that you don't have to worry about the French at all. You can just hand it over. I'm not, you know, I'm not bilingual, but I've spent enough time in France now to get by, and it's fine. As you say, an awful lot of French people have great English anyway in this profession, in the wedding industry, you know. So so I mean, advice to couples coming to France, really consider it. as a sensible option. It isn't some way out of your league kind of thing. You can afford it. You know, if you can afford to have a reasonably flash wedding in the UK, you can afford to have a lovely wedding in France. That's the interesting thing, certainly.
So that's perfect. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and what you do. And I'm sure you can sit back and have a lovely cup of Yorkshire tea now.
Cup of tea. I do like a cup of tea.
Cup of tea. So thank you so much. And
thanks, Emma.
You can get hold of Piers by looking on our website under Celebrants, and he's quite visible to you. So if you click on his page, it will take you through to some more information about him, and you can contact him to check his availability. So don't hesitate. If you would like to meet Piers for your wedding, then give him a call.
Thank you very much.
They should give you a call.
Thank you.